about Drew Barrymore because I want to hear your guys' thoughts because I don't really get it. And I mean, I do get it, but like, I don't get it. And I want to hear other people's information because I feel like John had some thoughts that I was like, I just Googled it on YouTube to see like who was talking about it. And I was like, John, I don't know if you get
What
it,
did he
but I
say?
understand where you're coming from.
Well, my boss also doesn't necessarily believe that actors and writers should get residuals. So we have very different views. Yeah, that's how I feel too. Where I burst out on the show. I went, "How should we live? Like, how would we live?" Yeah.
Wow,
I didn't hear
I did
his thoughts
not
on
know
it.
that.
I don't listen to the show if I'm not on it. I don't know.
No, I scrubbed through and I saw Rob was on it, and I was like, okay, I'll listen for a brief moment. Basically, his big thing was saying that like the one of the arguments that he was saying is that has been coming up is like we're supposed to be in solidarity, and he was like, I think that's bullshit. Like if people can get paid, they can get paid. Like just because like you're on strike doesn't mean that someone else should be on strike and blah blah blah. And we don't have to put this in the podcast because I don't know if he's going to listen to it or whatever. And he's very clear and I'm very clear. Like your opinion is your opinion. It's nothing like, nothing's going to change because you said your opinion. Especially us and him, you know what I mean? So anyways, but I was just intrigued because I also heard that she brought writers on that were technically non-union. So like it's not, it's like kind of a gray area situation, but I don't know. I'm very confused.
Well, from my perspective, the reason why people do the whole like, if you can work, you should work stuff, it doesn't matter if other people are striking, that's how workers get taken advantage of. That's how we have terrible workplace issues, politics, etc. It's why employers don't want you to discuss your wages with each other because they don't want you all to know what each other makes. They want you to be very, very solidary in how you are doing things. They want you to be solitary. That's the word I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. Because if you start having that village mindset, you are thinking of other people. You are thinking of how this benefits everyone as a whole, not just yourself. And if you're only looking out for yourself, you don't care about how people's hours are. You don't care that other people aren't getting stuff. You're only caring about your nugget. And that's fine and dandy, but that's the downfall of capitalism is that it makes you incredibly short-sighted, self-focused. And I think that's what Drew Barrymore was doing here. Very short-sighted. It was, hey, I can get back to work and some other people can get back to work. But her whole show has writers. It is not a news program, and that's what she was trying to present herself as. It's not a news contract, first of all, because shows like The View have that, thanks to Barbara Walters. Other shows, too, don't have union writers that have this kind of format, so they were totally cool to keep moving on. And sure, she can get some of her employees to work again, but at the cost of not providing for her writers, not thinking about her fellow actors who aren't taking jobs. And if she really wants to make sure other people are paying their bills and taking care of them, she can do that. She's Drew Barrymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel
that's
about
true.
it.
Yeah, I mean it's a.
I heard she only had 3 union writers. Is that true?
Sorry?
I heard that she only had 3 union writers and the rest are non-union.
That's totally plausible.
It could be. I'm not sure.
I was just confused. Anyways, okay, go ahead, Mia. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. We were just talking about this before we started, before we were on mic.
Oh.
We were talking about it, and I think that I also think that there is a possibility that there were opportunities presented that made this kind of a nice situation, because it does sort of feel like to go back to work during a strike is a really, really big decision. And it's hard to imagine a circumstance where so many people would be supportive of that in the first place. Now, I will say, I think it takes a lot of guts to walk it back. You know, that she didn't double down,
she did.
that she was very clearly, I understand, I hear you, I listened, and I'm changing my thing. You know, I'm not going to do this thing. And I think that there needs to be more room for that, because I think a lot of times people make mistakes. People say things they shouldn't. People, do bad things. And then it feels like sometimes people double down in ways that they don't need to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it can be really difficult to kind of say, hey, I messed up.
Right.
And I hope,
which is the whole cancel culture.
I hope we can move forward with her. Because, I love Drew Barrymore. And it's hard to swallow, especially, she's beloved. So it's kind of hard to swallow that she would be some baddie or she would be the one that crossed the picket line. Not that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
One of my favorite things that has come out of this, though, is another content creator. She's a host and writer. I wish I could remember her name. I'll try to find her again. Talked about how what she first did was not an apology, but an acknowledging. So just acknowledging that I'm doing something in bad behavior and poor taste, but I'm still going to do it. And now she's at least changing her behavior, because that's what an actual apology is changed behavior. And yeah, if you can do that part, then as long as you haven't done a particularly heinous crime that Law and Order SVU would talk about, I think you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that like the PR video or whatever that she made about which again was I think the acknowledgement kind of thing, and barely even that question mark. I don't even know what was like being said, but she did seem like broken up about it or whatever. But yeah, I think like you said, Mia, I think that brings it back to like the whole like cancel culture. Like I guess obviously like you said, Kris too, if it's not something that like is so unredeemable, you know what I mean? Like this kind of thing I think is really like leaving space for mistakes to be made and like growth,
Yeah.
But it did clear up some, well, kind of. It did clear up some stuff for me, or like questions that I had, because like Kelly and Mark and whatnot, I was like, how are they still doing their shit? Because whatever. And I didn't realize that they were like separate host contracts and not, because they're not being actors right now. They're just hosts. I still don't understand how people are going on their show and promoting their shit, because I don't think that they're under interim agreements.
That is scary. A little sketch, a little sus. Certain shows, though, it's like the Wild West right now. Because I've talked to you guys a little bit about this, of like animation right now. I can't audition and work on features, but television is totally okay for me right now.
Animated TV.
Animated TV. Huh. Promos technically are okay, which is so weird. And I think that's, yeah.
Because what are you promoting?
Exactly. I think it's more supposed to be for like sports and news shows. But like the blanket list is like promos. I'm like, for movies? Because that seems so wrong. So there's also these weird little nuggets here and there. If you're not under a specific influencer contract, although, SAG has also been trying to get influencers to know they will not be joining SAG if they are doing paid promotions for AMPTP affiliated companies that aren't doing interim agreements. So it's kind of Wild Westy. It's all over the place.
I know. It's so crazy. And I mean, I don't know if we really need to explain it for like people. I feel like people that are listening to Strike Pod are like kind of somewhat aware of the strike, especially if they're friends with me. But I just feel like, I don't know, like yesterday, was it yesterday? Was today Sunday? No, it's Friday night. One of my friends was like, so what's going on with Drew Barrymore again? Like, why does everyone hate her now? And I was like, and I had to be like, okay, well, I don't, we, we don't hate her. We just are disappointed a tiny bit, because a lot of it maybe. But again, yeah, I don't know. It was really interesting to see the like trajectory, I guess, of like how it all happened and how public it was and how shameful like the whole world made it seem, which like I guess it was shameful for a moment, but yeah, she didn't kill anybody and now she walked it back. So I think that that's strong. But there were definitely, like I saw an Alyssa Milano video or whatever that was like, it just wasn't the right move. I love Drew, just like you said, Mia, but like just wasn't the right move with where we're at right now,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, so she's not shooting anymore, right?
No, she's decided to halt production.
Okay. And I don't understand soap operas. I don't understand how they're able to do their thing. How are they able to do
a different contract?
So they're not struck work?
No.
Even though they are SAG actors?
Correct. It's really confusing, and I think that's the difficult thing, right? Is that along with the interim agreements, there's a lot of people operating on good faith.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And trying their best to not, this was about a struck show. This podcast was about a struck show. And you're adhering to those guidelines, which is awesome and great. And I think a lot of people who are maybe less educated wouldn't even think that would be something that you would be forbidden to do.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And half of these questions that are coming up too are from my mom because my mom will be like, how are soap operas operating? How are like, was my question at first because she was telling me she was watching a show. And I was like, well, they do have some of them banked, but I know those are fast turnarounds. So like, I don't know how it's still happening. So that was a question. And then she still watches all the daytime shows and all these other things. And I was just like,
any mama
Anyway.
constant questions, bring them on.
I
Oh
know,
my
totally.
gosh.
Totally. I love how like invested / like curious she is about it all, you know?
That's wonderful.
It is.
Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know. That was just kind of I wanted to hear someone else's thoughts from, except for the like not the internet. But I guess like I don't know. I'm just confused about some of the shows that are like I don't understand. I was watching this on your show, Kris. Like I don't understand the whole like pulling shows that have already been shot thing either because I mean I guess just it won't make any more money, but they already spent the money, so I don't really understand.
So it's another confusing thing, right? Of do you put something out into the world that actors and writers can't promote right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm friends with some friends. This is a joke, like LA sentence. Some of my friends are friends with some of the writers for.
Oh, sure, the Peacock show.
Yeah, and I've got this really cool show out right now that I can't talk to anyone about. You know, you've got movies being pulled, right? Like the giant, huge casting of the folks for have decided to move their movie and everything since all these actors are on strike. Florence Pugh has been on the picket line and everything too. We've seen Oscar Isaac on there, but you have this huge cast. Does it make sense if you've invested in a cast of that caliber, who are your drawing point of coming to see the movie, to release it into the world when they can't promote it?
Yeah.
And TV too. I mean, you can sit on it. It is really hard to get people excited about new projects, though, that maybe don't even have name talent or household names at the very least, and to just kind of drop it as part of your television lineup without any promotion can be a little tricky. And when I say without any promotion, sure, they can still put out, little trailers and things and just use text that have all the like coming this Wednesday and have all the clips of the actual show and just not have that voiceover, right? But without doing late night circuits, without doing those kinds of interviews and things, which is how all of us find out about shows. I don't know about you guys, but my parents, like, it's always, oh, I saw this guy on Kimmel talking about this thing, so now I'm going to go see that movie. Or, oh, this new show showed up. Or with my friends, it's, oh my gosh, I saw this really cute, like, clip of Hot Ones, and they were talking about this new project. I can't believe I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
That's how we know
literally how my mom finds out about everything is Mark and Kelly.
I love that.
Me too. I do too. It's so cute. But
I don't know, what do you guys think about everything being pulled, though? Or not everything. I mean, a lot of things.
I'm interested to know how it's going to affect the Oscars.
Oh, I'm so
That's
excited.
what I'm interested in.
Weren't the Emmys supposed to be on Monday?
Emmys
literally
have been pushed
tomorrow?
back by 4 months, which is going to interfere with how then we do nominations for the next year, because what happened when?
Right.
How does the timeline work now? Ooh, sorry.
I hate this. Wait, go ahead, Mia, about the Oscars.
No, I mean, I really, because of everything, I can't really say much more than that, except I wonder what happens if no more films with full out promotions come out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The list of movies that are eligible and would be competitive is very interesting. And we can't say anything more on it. However, but it is interesting, right? How that might affect award season and the business in LA around award season.
Yeah.
Because in the same way that when a show isn't in production, it trickles down to everyone else. In LA, award season affects tailors and people who have nothing to do with the business all the time, but are like in glam and hair and all of the other things surrounding promoting things.
Catering companies.
Yeah.
During the Emmys too, there's always these big pushes, the for your consideration votes, right? Where certain shows in the past have done like a this show day, and you can get, cheap discounted gas at certain locations and black and white cookies. And I'm being very specific so that you probably know what show I'm talking about.
I know exactly the show, and we also can't talk about it.
Yeah. If I
don't
say
know the
show and
show,
movie
so you
names
can tell
to
me
you guys,
later.
I'm so sorry too if we need to like bleep out my nonsense, because since I'm contracted on John's show, I'm not breaking any rules by doing my job. And then when I go on other things, I'm like,
Right.
You didn't
I
say
don't know.
anything, so.
I said a movie title. I don't know if that's.
Oh, you did?
But I
Yeah.
said that it was Struck. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know how
I
it all
mean-
works. But
I
yeah,
don't think they're coming for you.
probably not. There's bigger fish to fry than
Well,
me.
that's not what I meant. I just meant that imagine that I'm imagining the resources for all of this union stuff with all the guilds is, I hope, focusing more on negotiations and not on
Then like going after people.
scouring podcasts to
Well-
listen to someone mentioning a title of a Struck thing.
Well, especially because Holly, you've brought this up before too. We're like Mark Maron or Randall Park have talked specifically about a movie and been like, "Oh, we really need to have more female directors as this film showcases, or we need to do this." And I'm like, "So can we talk about this, or can we not? Or I don't know."
Yeah, the whole Mark Maron thing was really confusing for me because that Barbie thing blew up what he said about it, which, like, first of all, I love Mark Maron. I love me some Mark Maron.
I
paid
could
many a
talk for
ticket
an
to see
hour
him.
and a half about how
Same.
much I love Mark Maron.
Same. But I was but a part of me was just like, who cares? First of all, and I'm sorry, I love Mark. But secondly, how was it so blown up on all social media things that was like okay for him to do? I mean, I guess it wasn't technically promotion. Is that why? I don't fucking know. It's just so gray area.
In theory, you're not being paid by an AMPTP like affiliate, right?
Right.
Because that was a big issue at the beginning, and I remember being like, "Guys, don't worry about this," because a bunch of my students too were freaking out of, "Well, am I allowed to post a picture of me like doing like going to see Barbie? Am I allowed to do that because of the language used of do not promote anything?" And it was, if you want to talk about how you loved this movie you just saw, I personally don't think SAG-AFTRA is going to be like, "No, they loved this really great movie with a female cast that was female directed, and they had to post one Instagram story, and we'll never let them in our union now."
Right.
It got so weird and contentious.
I don't think that they would turn down the $2,000 or whatever the fuck.
I was going to
union
say,
fee.
I think that SAG likes a lot of people in their union.
Yeah, I concur with that.
That's fair.
As a must join. Yeah, I felt that.
Yep.
Oh my god! Wait, I was gonna bring something else up. Oh
Remember,
crap! I forgot.
remember, Holly, remember.
Remember, we're talking about the union. No, I don't know. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's very gray area to me. So, but I think that. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Thank God. I saw that the WGA is going back. For negotiations. Was it next week or this month? Sometime. I think before the end of the month is over.
Huh.
Fourth time, yeah.
Fourth time. Maybe this is the one.
That works. I want to talk to somebody on the negotiation team and be like, I mean, I guess I could Google some stuff, but like, what is going to be different about this negotiation is it just a matter of wearing them down? Is it just a matter of like changing our terms? Like,
Well, I think the idea is hopefully there's a media blackout around these negotiations. So we kind of don't know. Different members.
Well, they're supposed to be.
Members of
Studio
they're
head.
supposed to be, exactly. Because it weakens everyone's focus and it makes things messy when the trades come out with random stories that can distort the reality of what's going on and make it difficult for people to come together.
Yeah. And, tinfoil hat over here. The trades are owned by the AMPTP.
Which is so crazy.
They are. So that's another part of it is, of course, they released press releases when they shouldn't have. And of course, there's going to be a devil's advocacy to these arguments. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, however wrong I might think they are, right? Of just like, no, I think people should get a living wage. Please tell me how you don't think that's fair and reasonable. But one of the issues
I have never heard you say fair and reasonable more than in these last 3 months.
Oh my God. Come tell me why, Bob Iger. Tell me why. I'm going to sound like a boy band, motherfucker. All right? Like, it's ridiculous to me because it's the easiest argument is tell me how this is not fair and reasonable to you, especially when he's calling us disruptors and disturbed. That's not
100%.
Enjoy your yacht, you piece of shit. Like,
I'm so on board.
I'm so over it. Well, and
Me too.
There's two other issues here too of the negotiations of I'm sure Bob Iger is like a nice person in real life. I don't know, in these moments.
No, he's not. He's
Billionaires
blatantly and
are
publicly
questionable.
hurting people. No, that's
Understand my
nice
work
of you,
as
Kris, but no.
But
Sorry, wait, go ahead. I'm talking over you. I'm so sorry. What did you say?
okay. So, first of all, one of the times that the writers came back, right? It was basically, well, we're giving you the same option. So take it. There was no negotiation. It was just, why didn't you take our deal? Take the deal that we offered you, writers. Come on, go. And that's not negotiation. That's just a weird bullying tactic of like, we'll wait you out, right? Now a fun new layer to all of this is now supposedly they're infighting within the AMPTP of how so many studio heads supposedly are like, no, we are ready to come to the table. We want to do this. We are ready to give them these certain things and negotiate these other things. And there's a couple studios and a couple corporations that are like, nah, miss me. So we have this other issue too of, should the AMPTP even be a thing?
Right, because ultimately they're different companies doing different models.
Yeah.
So, my family comes from automotive, and the way that it works when I think the auto workers are now on strike.
Yep.
The way it works is they go to different companies and negotiate individual contracts with them and can use them as leverage to get better conditions for the next contract. And there's something that feels very like illegal, just not fair about the way that all of these companies are able to negotiate with us collectively. It feels like it puts us at a disadvantage. So I wouldn't be surprised. And it seems like, there's product companies, there's companies that are straight up old school, relying on content. And I think that those are the people that really care about telling powerful stories, powerful human stories.
Boom.
That require humans to write and humans to be in, are the most accessible. And some of these companies that actually are more information data hoarding companies that are less interested in creating content, and I don't even like that, creating movies and television programs that are creative and actually telling stories that affect people.
That's beautiful. Well said.
I can't keep saying content anymore. I'll die.
It's such an icky
I know,
word.
it's hard.
I'm
I'll
not a fan of
die.
it, creating content. I am so sorry, Holly. I'm going to open my door for a second because Trico keeps crying outside of it, and I don't know if you can hear her or not. But now
No, I can't hear it, but that's okay.
They evolved to have this noise that makes humans be like, no, my baby. Okay, hold on one second.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Take your time.
I'll
It
lean
looks so
with
much
it.
bigger in there than I would have anticipated.
Yeah, I was surprised we can both fit. But we can fit comfortably. I mean, I'm comfortable.
I feel
She's
good.
like, good God, I need some space. No, but I think people who actually care about making things that are good, that people see, that's a contribution to society, really care and need and want to make this deal. And companies that aren't are more interested not even in making money, but in selling our information to other companies to make us buy things.
Yeah.
And that's actually the
Okay,
business they're in. They're not in the business of making movies and television. They're in the business of hoarding time and eyeballs and selling it to people. So now it's kind of like, okay, what are you?
Yeah. Okay, so here's my question. This might be, well, I don't want to say dumb question because they're quote unquote, there's no such
There are
thing,
none.
but whatever.
I don't know.
Well, I feel like also a very intelligent person just went, I don't know. And I was like, there aren't. With my unbridled puppy enthusiasm.
Okay, you guys can just tell me later if it is. Okay, my question though, I guess since we're talking about this, is like, is there a way in which, and maybe you already mentioned this, but is there a way in which we don't even negotiate with, like, can we somehow pull out of the AMPTP, like, and just use another, like, start another one? Is that a thing? Do you know what I'm saying?
People have spoken about this before.
Yeah.
Really?
So this is also why the interim agreements are such an interesting thing, because it is just, hey, are you a film company that can do it this way? Hey, can you produce something truly independently? Some of the things that then come up are distribution issues, obviously, of how those movies get eyes on them then. Because technically right now you can still also submit to film festivals and things like that. If somebody tries to buy your product, if I'm not mistaken, from one of those festivals, then that's not kosher. What I always keep getting hung up on then is in this digital streaming era where most of the time then the end goal is selling something to a streaming service, then that's where I'm wondering how we get around AMPT-ness of it all.
Well, think about Taylor
Mhm.
Swift, right?
Yes.
So Taylor gave everyone what they needed and wanted, and because she's Taylor Swift, she can get distribution.
Yeah.
And I know that there's been earlier in the I almost said the pandemic, but it feels like that in the entertainment
Honestly,
pandemic.
that's so funny.
In
Not really
early
funny,
in the
you know what I mean.
summer, a texting thread with a bunch of writers, they were like, what if we, so WGA and SAG, make our own, human-made stamp of productions, make our own film alliance. And I know that clip of Jessica Chastain trying to equate it to baseball. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
It's so good. It's like, imagine if all the baseball players were upset with their contracts, they were getting underpaid, their working conditions were terrible, and they went to the major league and they were like, we need better conditions, we need better deals. And they said no. And then they went to the minor leagues and said, can you do it? And they said, yeah. And then all the major players go to the minor leagues. What is the major leagues without all the players?
Right. Yeah. Chastain has been brilliant during this time.
Yeah. Again,
Always.
a 3-hour podcast on Jessica Chastain.
Did you listen to Mark Jessica Chastain
Yes,
talking?
yes, I did.
Okay.
The algorithm found me. Holly Constant was like, have you heard Chastain on Marin? I was like, no, but I will. I'm sure.
Oh my God, amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot to talk about, and I'm really glad that we can like have open conversations about it because there's a lot of people I think that are just like, I don't know, I guess we'll just wait and see what happens. And I'm which it like that's all we can do at the same time. However, I think there's just a lot of discussions that we can keep an open mind about, whereas, because not a lot of stuff is being told to us. So I don't know.
For sure. It's really cool that you're giving a platform too to share that. And just to be clear too, I mean, like, me and I both are union actors. Not all union actors are in total agreement on everything that's going down. When I
Right.
sat in on that video game one, it got pretty contentious about what
Mhm.
we're asking for, what we're doing. And, like anything, there's different political parties within it too.
Yeah.
Sure.
So people also have like their own opinions and agendas in all of this. It's just the hope is that we can at least come together enough to get something done so
Yeah.
we all don't get stuck.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
The
Yeah.
political parties
Well,
within SAG is
Oh
fascinating.
my gosh, it's hilarious. The
that's
stuff in
so
the Bay
crazy
Area
to
is
me.
wild. A student of mine has sent me so much of the like political emailing from the Bay Area candidates when they were all doing their races, and it was so ridiculous of things like so and so wants you to believe that they stand for this. It was like, what? Oh my gosh! It was
Imagine
all
a
an email.
smear. Imagine a smear campaign.
for a SAG committee chair. Like, shouldn't we all like each other? I don't know.
Or just like be decent.
Yeah,
Seems so hard to do these days.
truly.
Oh my God. Well, and I think it's interesting too because I don't know. I haven't really heard / seen a ton of things from non-union actors, but maybe that's because I don't know too many. But I think I follow enough, like of my like people I've been in productions and stuff with, and I just don't feel like I'm hearing as much from them. But like I just keep having to remind people, like SAG sets the precedent. Like if we, the reason that we get paid the way we do is because SAG has their rates, and then it kind of trickles down from there. So I mean, and if you ever want to be in SAG, like to get those better working conditions, if you're not in the union right now, like that's kind of what we're all working for anyway.
Yeah. I mean, really, at the end of the day, for most actors, SAG is endgame. You could go FICOR. FICOR is totally an option. I know tons of voiceover people who go that route. Because, I mean, video games, for example, are usually a really big union area. About 20% of the performers in video games are union actors. That being said, those are usually those big AAA games, the big boon. So, there's rhymes and reasons to do it, and it's always a personal choice whether or not you join, whether you try not to, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm curious, Kris, about the contracts for video games and the relation to the AI stuff that's happening in the theatrical contracts. because of the body scanning
Mm-hmm.
and the right to your likeness.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's some heat between some of those cohorts, because it seems like on the one hand I could see people really wanting to advocate more and more for opportunities like that and not want to lose that 20%.
Yeah.
However, it might, I don't know, has there been conversations on the other side of talking more about how those relate to each other?
Yeah. So I sat in on a SAG committee member like negotiation meeting, right? And it got very, because AI is such a huge issue for video games. People will do it cons, because a lot of the ways too that voiceover actors make a living, because we don't get residuals on video, they do a lot of convention, and they'll have people come up to them and be like, "Oh, hey, there's a filter of your voice on TikTok, so I can make all of my videos sound exactly like your character from this game." And it's wild. And there obviously are like syntax issues where you go, "Oh, that doesn't sound correct." I can't breathe, for one thing. And that's one of the first things that puts you in the uncanny valley, is like, why is there no breath there? But you have that kind of technology already out there. We get scanned. Characters look like us a lot of times too, if we're doing full facial capture or likeness or anything like that. It's a very scary one for video games, because it's so easy to manipulate parts of you, right? It's very easy, and it's why you need to be very concerned with seeing words like digital duplication, cloning, digitization, because those are words that get snuck into your contract, and then all of a sudden somebody owns your voice. It's very, very concerning. So that's honestly the big issue for video games, is that AI stuff, and that's what we're trying to really fight for. This is what I've heard from both sides, though. There are people who, because we occupy about 20% of that space, are saying, we need to play ball. We need to stay in this. There are other people saying, we need to go harder. Why aren't we asking for residuals? Which is fair. Video games are a billion-dollar industry. They are the fastest grossing and growing industry in entertainment. And, you get paid well when you're on a video game. You get about $956 if you're on a regular budget for your day rate. Low budget's around $400 for your session. That seems great if you're only doing 4 to 6 hours in the booth. What a great day for you. But that's all you're getting when this game sells millions and millions of copies, sometimes billions.
I'm so glad you're being so transparent about literally how much that is, because I think people have no idea how much people actually make.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely none. And so when they see an actor who is at a con speaking to millions of fans, they're imagining that they're multi-millionaires who've made it. And oftentimes they're people who are working 2 weeks for $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
Minus taxes, minus agent, manager, lawyer.
Exactly. And to be clear too, if you're doing motion capture, you're doing performance capture, that is a long day, right? They usually have very, very tight schedules. It works a lot like a play, right? But you aren't doing anything else around this. You are only doing this. You can't have any other work propping up. And when you are doing, all work is like this, but vocal work and physical work, stunt work, etc., being healthy is super, super important too. And a lot of times, because of these tight-knit sets and everything, they isolate. Not as much as they used to, right? But that's another factor of, okay, well, I have to go to this location, which you pay for yourself. I have to put myself up near this location for yourself. I have to have 2 to 3 meals a day, which craft sometimes helps with. Cost a lot. So there's a whole bunch of things with video games. Big focus is AI. And just safety issues. We don't have breaks written for our contracts a lot of times.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How would residuals work though, as far as is it just like the amount of times that somebody buys the game kind of thing?
Just like DVD sales, right?
Oh, okay.
You buy a game or even downloadable content. I think if you're part of that DLC content, then you would just get a small percentage of that, right?
That's why it's so insane to me that people are saying, these CEOs are saying you can't measure how much people buy or stream or whatever the fuck. Because I'm just like, how the fuck do you think residuals worked?
You absolutely
if you can't track it.
Well, if you can tell me that 16,000 people tuned into something on Netflix, you just track that. You just told me that you could do that. And sure, if you don't have ads running on your streaming platform, then there's no revenue aside from subscribers. And that's why things are on a lot of those. But if you have an ad-based platform like a Hulu, right? You know what you're telling your advertisers. they have to get that information. There's that transparency, give it to everyone else. And for residuals too, because I think they are warranted. If I go eat a meal, right? I pay for that meal one time because that meal is not something I'm going to revisit. Hopefully not. And while it sustained me for that meal, it does not sustain me moving forward. If I am countlessly watching, streaming, etc., something on Hulu, and there's ads running, you're making money every time something I made plays, I should get a piece of that because I'm part of that product. I understand it for work that's one and done, being paid a salary. We're not paid salaries. We're gig workers. And if you're enjoying the shit that we made, we should get a little cheddar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and people talk about how these production companies and the studios are taking on all this extra risk. And because they are fronting the money to make something, that it's important that they are the first in line to recoup. And that's a super valid point of view and what most people think about. But also, it's not really just them taking on the risk. When you commit to a project as an actor, you're committing your time, and you also don't know how it's going to end up. You have no control. So your value is intrinsically tied to whatever ends up happening in the editing bay. So to think about your next paycheck being completely dependent on this project, it is a risk. Every project you do is a risk.
Yeah. Crazy times. Well, I'm glad that we could talk about it, and then I could ask some questions as well, and that we could just like get our emotions and feelings out, and not even feelings, just like factual information that
the best part is in an hour, everything could be different.
Yeah, that's real. Like, yeah, I know. I'm very intrigued to see because, like, I'm also intrigued to see, like, when the WGA comes to their negotiations, how quickly SAG will follow. I think it'll be soon after.
Yeah.
I don't know soon, like in general, but like I would say that SAG would be following WGA pretty closely. You know what I mean? Oh. Okay, let's get into some fun stuff.
Are we falling in love again?
Mia, I did want to. Oh, go ahead.
Are we falling in love more?
Yeah, so we're falling in love more.
Amazing.
We have more questions. Obsessed. I did want to ask though, Mia. Last week we asked who our dinner guest would be, and mine was Amy Poehler, and Kris's was Robin Williams, and I would be interested to see who yours was.
Who my dinner guest would be?
Like a celeb dinner guest, dead or alive. And if you can't decide between one, you can do some more. I mean, they can be like just famous for, like a scientist or something. And it doesn't, I mean, this is celeb, but if there's someone that is not a celeb, then you can do that too.
Say a scientist or a humanitarian, so we look like dog shit.
It does say celeb, so that's why we chose those.
Okay, it says celeb.
Yeah.
Then probably.
Wait, you got say that.
He doesn't?
So number one was, okay, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? Did we just choose that? I thought I said celeb, but I guess our brains just went there.
Yeah.
Wow.
It doesn't say celeb.
I guess, at least at this very moment, and like I said, it could change in an hour. Probably like Bette Davis.
Ooh. I like that.
Okay. I like that. All right. So we're going to have Bette Davis, Amy Poehler, Robin Williams, potentially Mr. Rogers at our collective dinner party.
That's a crazy
party. A great group.
I know, right? I kind of like the idea of them interacting with each other.
Lovely.
Okay. All right. So we were on set 2. I don't know, depending on time, how many we'll get to, but whatever. We're on set 2. Question 2. Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time? ? Why haven't you done it?
Ooh.
I mean, for me, and this might be basic, but who cares? Hawaii has been on my bucket list since 2020, but I couldn't go because 2020, and then student loans started up again, so can't do that. So that's why I haven't done it. But that's really that is a huge dream slash thing that I'd like to do is go to Hawaii, like all three of the big islands, and just explore and be part of nature. And yeah,
Ooh, that's great. I'm trying to think.
something you've dreamed of doing for a long time.
I mean,
Or
mine's loaded of like my bucket list thing is I want to work with the Muppets.
oh,
Why
that's
haven't
a
you
good
done
one.
it,
I
Kris?
don't. I literally don't know. Hire me, you cowards. That's a
Why
good way to get
haven't you?
jobs, right? Is to call them cowards and then see if they'll hire you.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. I just love them so much. I just want to. I'd work crafty for the Muppets.
I think that's great. Okay, great manifestation goal.
I have wanted for a long time to go to Paris.
Mm.
I've never been. And I've had many situations come up where I've planned a trip to Paris and something has happened where it doesn't happen. And now I'm also, and I haven't actually done it yet. I think, I mean, obviously, like the money thing is a factor, but also now I'm nervous that I hyped it up and I've wanted to do it for so long that it will disappoint me and send me down into a spiral of never-ending despair.
Well, I think that you thought that about New York though, Mia,
I did.
and
I
that did
did.
not happen.
I didn't think it would send me into like despair. I thought I would
You thought you would be
return with
disappointed though.
yeah, I did. I thought I would return with a newfound appreciation for Los Angeles. Um, and that didn't also happen.
Just say, you come back and you're like, this fucking place.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. I think you should go and whenever you can and report back, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. And I don't think it'll be despair either. You'll be there and you'll be a beautiful queen eating baguettes and Parisian patisserie.
Italian answer. My dream will lead me to existential dread. Man, I love it. I think I
Are you in love yet?
Yes.
Marry her. Put a ring on
Never
it.
needed it more.
I love that both of yours are travel. I think I'm a very impulsive person. So I think when I want to do something, I do it and I don't think about the repercussions, which is problematic. Which is not a great way to
cool
live.
Answer. That's a cool girl answer.
Sweet. That's all
Nailed
I want.
it.
Just Rosamund Pike.
Okay, all right. Number 3, what is the greatest accomplishment of your life?
Now here's where the dread comes.
I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to mind, as much as I hate paying for it, Berkeley was a really big accomplishment for me because I had such a tunnel vision for it and I wasn't sure if I had what it took to do it. But also, like, completing it was like just the accomplishment as well because I also had to go through all the money shit and like trials and tribulations with parents and classes and whatever the hell, which I won't get into now, but like it was a challenge. It was like a really big challenge and then it was completed. So I feel like I feel accomplished in that.
Great answer. What do you have?
Mia, you're like a trial by fire here because all the earlier questions Kris and I did last time were kind of like, how do you think you're gonna die?
Yeah.
Well,
These are like a little bit deeper.
these are thinkers. I should have looked at the
Thinkers.
list. I was thinking, Kris, did you look at the list before you did this?
No.
I've read this before.
I haven't looked at all of them. I like briefly glanced through them, but I didn't think of answers or anything.
For I don't want to get into it, but for one of the gigs that I used to have, I had to ask a lot of variations of these questions to get to know people better, which was very interesting. I'm getting a little PTSD, like being on the other side of it. I think I would say, and it's sort of despite myself, but I think the accomplishment I can point to, at least right now, is the I've done a really good job keeping people in my orbit that I care about. Like,
Hmm.
I am very good at maintaining close relationships with my family, with
Mm-hmm.
people who know me. I mean, it was my friend's birthday last night, and half of the people that were there were people that I went to high school with. And
Mm-hmm.
and I know part of that is luck, but a lot of that is actually work.
Yeah.
It's so much effort,
And it's
especially as you get older.
oh yeah, yeah. And even my friends that don't live here, um, I think I feel very accomplished in my community, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that is totally an accomplishment.
Well, you're really
Chris, have
good
you been
too at
thinking?
oof, yeah. You're really good at like the thinking about you. You too, Holly, of like thinking about you texts, checking in on you texts, that kind of stuff too. You're both very present friends.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely and very nice, especially when my brain's like, um, man. Honestly, I think one of them is just getting my family on board and respecting me as a performer has been a big
Hmm.
one. Um, because of, as you guys know, as musicians and everything, like it's really hard and scary to do this job, and it's worse when people don't support it or poo-poo it. And getting my parents to a place where they refer to me as a working actor or explain things or address a poorly an in poor taste joke, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
last time I was in Florida visiting them, someone asked me what I did, and I said I'm an actor, and she just was like, "Oh, and how many tables do you wait?"
Oh, fuck.
And
Oh,
my
What?
dad is the one who was like, "So she's done this commercial, this thing, this," and starts just like firing stuff off like he's reading my resume, basically. He's like, "So, she's an actor." Which also, to be clear, like you don't have to be working all the time to be an actor, to be a musician. The fact that you're like creating things or working at things or doing things, that's enough. That makes you that thing. And it's really hard for people to understand that until they see you make money or until they literally see you do the
Oh,
thing.
sure.
They don't recognize it or see its value. And it's been really cool for both my parents to be like, no, 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 don't you say something disparaging to our daughter about what she does for a
I'm
living.
still
Does
like, I
rather
want to
well.
punch that guy in the face or person, whoever
It
it
was an
was.
older lady.
well,
I mean,
look out.
listen, Holly, Florida is God's waiting room. It's
You're right.
You're gonna fight some olds.
Who are we kidding?
But I think that was a big one, and also kind of in tandem with that too is setting boundaries because you guys know it's been very hard for me as a human being. And that first
Hard for
started
everybody.
with my parents, and it bled out then to like friends or people who were friendly but taking advantage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. What
What a laugh!
um, uh, I wanted to say, in light of what Kris was saying, about, it's a weird life and a weird job that if you're not in it or doing it, it's hard to understand.
Mhm.
And the most well-meaning people can sometimes say the most out-of-pocket stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes all it takes is for one speck of acknowledgement or for them to see something. And it can
Mhm.
be anything from a self-tape or a post or a trailer for a thing that you were in, whatever it is. And something click and some kind of appreciation can click. Like last time I was on your podcast, I got a bunch of messages from like people in my family or random people coming out of the woodwork being like, "Hey, I listened to that podcast that you were on." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so
What?
nice and cool." Yeah, and
That's
I
amazing.
no, and it sounds like, of course, like well, it sounds like it might be more of a given, but it's
It's
really
not
not.
though.
No.
It's really really not. And I had some
Mm-mm.
good news, and I always like to. I don't think my dad would ever listen to this, not just because I don't think he listens to podcasts, but in case he is and he made it this far. Hi, Dad. Um, but I texted him and I texted him a screenshot of something, and then he didn't respond to it. But then I started getting messages from all of his friends being like, "Hey, congrats, congrats!" And I'm
Wow.
but it's just,
How confusing though, like
but
to
it's so fun.
compartmentalize that.
Yeah, I think, the thumbs up emoji,
Yeah.
and then, but really the hype of it all is there's something special about the unseen hype that maybe a lot of parents are doing that people who are in the arts don't always see.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think so many parents, well, and people in general, but I mean, speaking from my own experience, I feel like a lot of parents, especially of creative people, are not great at saying the words out loud to you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times they'll say it to their friends, like you just illustrated, or like they'll be like, my daughter is this, whatever, whatever. And then when you like, I was going through, I've been in such a throwaway mood lately. I just want to like clean everything and like throw things away, cleansing.
Always like
And
that.
I found some cards from my dad, and a lot of them were like things like, I'm proud of you and you're following your dreams, go for it. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. It's that you say those things in cards and you mean them. I don't think he doesn't mean them, but like I haven't heard those words a lot in person, but I have heard him say that to his friends or whatever. So it's very interesting to like, I don't know. It's not that you need to remind yourself, but like sometimes it's good to know that.
And if any of our families are listening, hi. Sorry, Mia's family in the Midwest for me saying fuck so much. You don't need to get someone or get what they do to love and support them. Those are not mutually exclusive things. My parents don't get me, right? Yeah. They think I'm just like a little weirdo that they love.
Yeah.
And they're very, very excited about what I do, but they also tell me constantly how they would never do this profession.
Sure. That's fascinating. Okay, well, if we were on a date, I would be in.
Oh my gosh.
This is
the moment. We're going home right now. Let's get out of here.
Like we're dating now. But sure.
Oh, you're a much more wholesome date than me.
My bad.
I was like, let's leave.
Holly's like, let's go on a long walk. Actually, that's me.
Okay, this one's tough. Now just reading it. Number 5. Number 4. Number 5 is tough. Number 4, what do you value most in a friendship? That's tough too. I think I'm struggling between, like, they're half and half for me. One is like reliability. Like, can I count on you to do what the hell you said you were going to do? Because I've dealt with that. And it's very disheartening. So I guess maybe it all comes down to trust, because the other thing was honesty. So like, if I can depend on you and depend on you to tell the truth and not leave me in the lurch by lying, and then, you know what I mean? So maybe it is just trust at the end of the day, which I guess is every relationship, but.
Support, emotional, mental, sometimes physical.
That's everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Like those things too. Because friendship should be symbiotic, right? And not in like a Spider-Man Black Goo way, but in like you should both put into a friendship and then both get out of it too. And not in a transactional way either, but in we both help each other. We both have meaning in this relationship. We both see and value each other and lift each other up. And you're not just like the person there for when their life falls apart. Or you're not just there for when things are great. Yeah. Right? Because everyone has that friend who you can hang out when things are awesome. And if you try to get into any deep shit with them, they're like, anyway, let me check my phone. Let me do this. Or you have the other friend who only is around when they need something from you. And that doesn't last long.
Nope.
That reminds me, Kris, can you do me a favor?
Oh my gosh. Mia, let me overextend. Let's go.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to start singing, Holly. That mic grab, I was waiting for you to be like.
Yeah. That's a friend's
my back hurts and I just don't want to round anymore. I need to get a new mic stand. Anyway.
There's this, what you were saying, Kris, about like the mutual setup of friendship. Do you follow Hayes? Hayes?
Is that a singer or who is it?
No, she's She
I
is
think it's like the Ashton Kutcher.
a
Is that a band?
writer. She's a writer, and she gives advice.
Okay.
And she has this whole theory of friendship. God, the review page just came at. I love advice columns, and
Nice.
she is super. She's probably, I don't know how old she is, but she's young, maybe like 20s, 30s. Very grounded, and she was talking about how there's different types of besties, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember them. There's like the good time bestie, who
Mm-hmm.
is the bestie that you can go out and like if there's a fun night, like this is who you want to be with the whole time.
Yeah.
The dead body bestie, who is the person who, if like whatever kind of crazy, insane thing you might need, like that person is gonna be that and you're that for that person. And then there's the North Star bestie, who is kind of maybe the person uh who you met when you were really young and have this sort of familial sorry, I touched the mic. Have this sort of familial attachment to that you can always come back to as your North Star. And
Mm-hmm.
it all kind of goes back to what you need from a friend. And it's
Mm-hmm.
complicated because it changes. So it's not it's a weird question for me to think about what I value the most in friendship, because it depends on the friendship.
Yeah.
Because the friendship difficulties that I've had, and I actually haven't had that many, are when expectations aren't aligned. You know, if I'm
That's
someone's good
real.
time bestie, but they're my North Star bestie, that isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they're wanting to
That's
go to the
so true.
club, and I'm wanting to, I don't know, just like
Go on a long
sit and
walk.
talk.
That's how I know I'm not a good time best.
What do you
What?
mean?
Because we would not go to the club.
The
Well, that's just
club.
because you don't want to go to the
I
club.
don't. I
No,
don't.
I've totally seen this before, Mia. I don't know if it was from her, but it was like going around a while ago, I feel. And I remember being very struck by it because it's so true. Like you have different levels of best friends, and I think or regular friends, whatever, but like I think that it was really cool for a lot of women especially to hear that, because so many of us put so much like pressure on, "Well, I just don't feel as close to them as I feel like I should feel,"
Well,
or
there's
like they
also the
don't feel
work
as.
bestie. There's also the work
Oh,
bestie.
that's a good one.
That is a good one, especially
Great
and
one.
appropriate for all of us because that's how we all met.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was it was wild for me because work bestie, for not, she wasn't a bestie, but like who a person who shall not be named, was didn't work there anymore. And I was like, I can't be friends with my coworkers anymore because like it just went so south. And it wasn't like between me and her, it was like between the company and her. And I was like, just went bad. So I was like, I can't be friends. And so then I think when you guys like started trying to be friends, I was like, nope, I don't want to. I think I said it nicely. And like where I was just like declining going out with you guys because I'd been burned before. And so I was like,
I,
not doing that.
You
And
I
then
didn't
it,
hear any of the
Oh yeah, Holly
story.
like never wanted us in her home. Like it was
I
hilarious.
just never picked up on it.
when was Mia after us, Kris, or was it all the same time? I don't
I feel like
remember.
it was
I was
around the
there
same time
first.
because I feel like Mia having all of us make a mixtape is what solidified friendship. When it was like, I need to get to know you. Please make a Spotify playlist right now.
I love
I'll go
this.
first. It was amazing, and I still listen to it all the time.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wait.
It also didn't help though that a lot of my like hang out with me behavior was like, you want to go smoke outside this school? Do you want to go hang out with me while I bitch about this thing? I brought wine in my
For
cup.
that.
Like,
I do remember that.
and that's how I became friends with other people there of like, oh, hell yeah, let's drink rosé in the middle of the day.
Love it. Oh my God, that was perfect. No,
Oh,
that's funny. But yeah, I think that that's a really astute slash great advice slash
But
point for people.
I will say that something a very good friend of mine said to me, um, about our friendship specifically, but I think it means it's something that I think applies to all the different types of besties,
Mm-hmm.
is that there's the real value in someone else that isn't a romantic partner and isn't just you, uh, that is also witnessing your life,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that feeling of like, oh my God, I have to tell this person. this person's gonna want to know this.
Yeah,
And
that's how I feel about you guys and the character actors text.
Yeah, it's just like there's something really special, and I think regardless of even the level of friendship, that feeling I think is the thing I value most, I guess.
My commercial renewal, I told you guys, and then my parents, and then my husband.
Love this. I actually for the commercial renewal.
Huh.
That's so funny. Okay, great. Well, we're all friends, so great. All right, number
Just like,
5. Check. What is your most treasured memory? Ooh. That's a tough one. Treasured memory. Nothing comes to mind. That's bad.
I don't know, because I have like a most recent awesome day kind of thing. But I don't know.
Say that.
What?
And then you can decide if it's your most treasured, like as we go on.
You have to throw away all of your other memories and tell them that they lost.
All my other memories, trash. No, the best part of my trip to London was, you know, the day that it was just me and him, me and Logan, and it was just us. Like, we went on a 10-mile walk. We just went on a 10-mile walk.
Mia will love that.
Yeah, it was a perfect Mia day. Because then we also like drank on the Thames, and I had a gin on the Thames, I love. And I went to like a couple museums.
Oh my god, this is a Mia day.
We stopped by the Globe, and we walked across the Millennium Bridge, and we went to a farmer's market. And, you know, Logan spoke in a dialect the whole time to try to trick people, and he did, and it was great. But it was just this really great day, and just like sitting on a river and having drinks with him was so nice and lovely. I have like
That's lovely. I think that counts. It could be what is a treasured memory instead of most treasured memory.
Most just seems like it puts a lot of pressure on the human experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I do wonder, out of the people that are answering these questions, like how for that in specific question, but I guess for others too, like how quickly does that come to mind? You know, like how many people just know that off the top of their head? But maybe that's not, I feel like that's just not the point. The point is to think about it so that you have to tell your partner that you're doing this with, like, serious truths.
Well, yeah, because I would imagine in the real life, like if you were doing this on a first date,
I wouldn't talk about my husband.
Right. I had this amazing story.
Oops.
In London, I walked 10 miles and fooled him with my accent. I can hear it now.
There's no one else there.
Oh my god.
But I think that the instinct would be to make it a joke, which defeats the purpose. Like what you would say is, oh, well, my most treasured memory, well, I don't really remember all of it, but...
Oh my god.
So that would be one genre. The other genre would be like, this time I met a celebrity in a random place. Or using it as like a humble brag. Like my most treasured memory is actually my proudest moment, right? Like this is when
sounds like a job interview or something.
Yeah. So it seems like those would be the 3 categories.
Well, do you have one in your head?
Well, I guess the 4th category would be childhood stuff. Yeah. Like when I think about being, you know, a little girl in the 90s, I had the most amazing, like, to call her a nanny is reductive. She is family. And it was just me and my little sister and her, and we would sing all day long, and we'd play all day long. And I lived in a neighborhood with a bunch of other little girls who would sing and play all day long. And it was so just like joyous and free. And if I'm feeling sort of low and stuck, those are the memories that can pop me out again. There's also the big events like my wedding and you know, other big family events. Like this might sound morbid, but my grandpa died and we got a party bus after his funeral. And it was kind of sad. Like we were all sort of, it was spearheaded by my sister who really wanted to like bump everyone up and like have everyone feel better, but people were kind of half not quite there. but we all sort of pushed each other to go on this party bus. And we went on this party bus and we sang and danced around, and there was music and family, and people were crying and laughing, but we were all together. And, you know, singing Tiny Dancer, driving down the highway. And there's something like when I think of treasured memories, there's some through lines, and I think mostly it's singing and feeling free and being with people that I love.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
What's yours?
I know. I'm trying to think of mine. I think that most of my memories that I just truly treasure so much are when I'm with my family, as you guys know. So, like, I guess the most recent one, I don't know if treasured. I just can't
Treasured.
think.
What a word.
Treasured. What a
It's
word.
loaded.
I know. I think this last Chicago trip was really lovely. But one of the memories that I have, again, I don't know if it's treasured. I mean, I do treasure it, but whatever. One of the memories that I like to remember so vividly was the first time in my senior year of college when I went to LA for the first time on my spring break, and I like knew that it was where I needed to be after I graduated. And I remember renting this like huge ass car from the airport. I don't remember what like model or whatever it was, but it was so massive, and like driving in a city, especially LA, that I was like not familiar with, where like the drivers are a little crazy and like whatever. Well, crazy in the way that they're assertive for the most part, and I was not that because I wasn't driving in college except for when I went home for break. And I remember so distinctly, like, I don't know, it felt like oh gosh, what's that video game? Grand Theft Auto in a way, in a good way. Because I was driving such a huge car, and I remember the smell, and I remember like going to a Rite Aid for the first time, and there was like liquor at the Rite Aid, and I was like, LA knows where it's at. And I stayed with my friend in Los Feliz, I think it was, and like I just remember so like distinctly that was like, and I don't know, it's just like a life-changing moment was when I went. So maybe that is more so instead of treasured, it was just like life-altering. So, yeah.
That's a great one. My family does an exercise of this. We're like, I got all my Nana's pots and pans on the stipulation that every time I cook with them for people, I have to tell a Nana story. And Logan's really good about holding me to it. Where he's like, okay, I need to hear an Angie McCullough story. Let's go.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. And that way I can like pull one up. Because otherwise, treasured is such a big word.
I know. And I think there can be so many of them depending on your life, I guess. So like to think of one is tough for me.
Like hearing you guys say stuff too was like, oh yeah, I have a great Tiny Dancer memory, or I have a great this moment with like coming to LA.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, when was your guys' first time coming to LA? I'd like to know that.
Visiting or moving?
Visiting.
Visiting.
And was it synonymous with you knowing that you needed to move there?
I feel like visiting, I had this hunch of I wish I got to be out here. And then my life circumstances changed that made it so not coming out here would have been stupid. So I was pretty consigned to living in Texas for the rest of my life. And I didn't know how sad that made me until then I had any option I wanted in the world because of other things that made me sad.
Right.
When
did you visit? Or like what brought you out here to visit?
I came to visit my friend Noelle, who was friends with Logan.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just remember like doing all the touristy stuff and thinking that was like fun and fine, but it was like driving down the 101 and blaring fun. And being like, I love this place. This is great.
Totally.
And going to a CVS and being like, there's liquor here? What is this place? And one of the best memories like from when I visited was just like sitting on a kitchen floor in an apartment on Sunset eating Stephen Cone American Dream by Stephen Colbert, the Ben & Jerry's flavor.
Yeah, I remember that.
And just like staying up and talking about like movies and TV and film and being like, oh, these people. I'm not the weird movie girl out. I have the same interests as everyone else.
Oh, beautiful. Belonging. Mia, what about you? When did you like visit here?
I visited for the first time my summer after my freshman year of college.
Mm.
I was out here for a month interning at a production company. Um, and it was so fun. Me and Jake came out, and Jake had family here, and a lot of them were traveling. So we basically got to, you know, stay in their house, stay in different people's houses, like have a nice place to land, and
Yeah.
really see what it would be like to live here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember eating some good Mexican food. Like that was a huge, like the Mexican food of it all was huge for me.
Yes.
And the workload was really minimal, but it was fun to like write coverage and see how things worked and spend time in Hollywood, and that's, you know, I went to Disney for the first time. I went to
Oh,
Santa Barbara,
nice.
and it was a very dreamy time. It was really fun. But I
Yeah.
never I left not thinking that I would live here. I
Mm.
didn't know that I would live in Los Angeles until like my junior year.
Mm. Were you like deciding between New York and LA at that time?
I wasn't even deciding between New York and LA. When I was a freshman, I was just always going to go back to New York. Um,
Mm.
but when I was a junior, my teacher was saying to me that I should go to LA.
Mm.
And he was someone I really trusted. And I was like, why do you want to go? He's like, just go and play young in LA because you look young. Play high school till you're 30, and then you can always come back to New York because you're gonna get those roles when you're older in New York, but you're gonna lose them to the version of you that is 5 years older and has credits.
Mm.
Um,
I love that you just went back to New York and played high school.
yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Well,
You don't
but
realize
he
it has
was
its own
right.
plans.
He was right though.
Yeah.
And I love LA, and it's so livable and it's so nice. And again, like I'm so lucky because Jake's whole family, like he has tons and tons of family out here, and his cousins are just the sweetest, and
Mm-hmm.
like they refer to me as their cousin, which is this like
Love
gives me so much
this.
like it fills my heart with so much joy, and to be accepted because they are people who understand this world in a way that is more practical because they're from LA and they're in the industry in their own ways, and also have like people in their life that are also in it. So
Yeah. So they
there's
can kind of
a
understand it a little more.
yeah, so there's something really special about having that kind of support and community in a way that I don't would necessarily have. So, anyway.
Yeah. Love that. I didn't know that about you guys. So I like this is why we do this, you guys. Not really. We
Sure,
would have found that
we
eventually, but I like the direct question. Okay, we'll do maybe one or two more. Okay, this one I don't know. Okay, what is set to number 6? What is your most terrible memory? So we've got treasured and terrible back to back.
Bold question for a first date.
I remember an embarrassing memory, and I don't know if it was terrible. I'm going to tell the story anyways. So, it was in 5th grade, and I remember I had like a little bit of a hole like in my pants, but it wasn't like too big. It was just like whatever. And it wasn't like I don't know where it was, but it was like on the side. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna wear these pants anyways. And so my teacher called me up front and was like, hey, you have a tear in your pants. And I was like, I know. Like, I know. It's fine. Whatever. And so I like went about my day and I was like, okay, that was weird. And then I went to the bathroom. There was a split down the back of my pants
Oh,
that I have no idea how I got or what happened. And it wasn't like my ass was completely out or anything, but like there was like little threads that were like hanging on. And I was like, that's what you want? So I got it was so wild for this teacher to be like, I know, I get it. Fuck off, bro. So put a jacket around myself and it was fine. But yeah, that's one of the most embarrassing ones that I can think of at this moment. But that I don't know if that's a terrible memory, but it's not
I was going
great.
to say, I know my terrible memory. I believe both of you know my terrible memory. I would not bring that up as like let me get close to somebody. Let me tell you about
What's
one
your
of the most.
terrible memory?
What
It is one of the most harrowing moments of my life, and I will not discuss it.
Okay, but
on
you
a
told me?
podcast. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've talked about
Yeah.
this. That's something that happened in Texas.
Okay.
And like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let's not, yeah.
And I don't feel okay. This is one of those things that happens at parties, and I understand that I've got best friend face. I know this, and people tell me about who hugged them too much and who didn't hug them enough. As my superpower is the drunkest girl at a party will always find me and be like, I need to tell you all of my secrets. And I'm like, no, don't do that. And I feel like there's this weird thing, especially with social media now, of this, sure, it's good to be honest and transparent and open, but there's an oversharing that is meant to create intimacy quickly through like trauma bonding or things like that just always makes me feel so ick. Of I want someone when they're close to me and feel safe with me, should they choose to tell me that information. I don't want you out the gate to be like, let me talk to you about this horrendous thing that happened to me, and me be like, and I'm Kris, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Ugh. It just makes me so
that reminds me of a show on Amazon about a Fleetwood Mac situation that we all loved. Where at the end he was like, "Let's be broken together," which it's its own thing. But like that kind of reminded me of what you were talking about. Where I actually really enjoyed that part where she's like, "I don't want to be broken with you. Like I don't want to do that to get like that's not why we're together or why we should be together or why we should share our like." Details of or / life together. And I really appreciated that, which kind of reminds me of what you're talking about now.
Just I want to know a person, and then they can tell me about all the spooky things that have happened.
Yeah.
Wow, that reminds me. I think what you're saying is funny, Kris, because it's also like people wanting to monetize their own pain.
Yeah.
Which I have very complicated feelings about because I don't like that. However, if you're gonna feel it, I don't know. There's a dark side of me that's like, well, if you're gonna be sobbing and miserable and you want to make a ton of money doing it, times are hard, baby.
I mean, I've cried on air before. I've had like other stuff going on, and so I start crying about something that is so meaningless, but I get worked up about it because I'm thinking about the other thing. Or I'll get caught in a vulnerable moment that builds up to something where I lose it. But the instinct, the instinct to be crying and go, I should film this right now, is something that's so weird to me.
It feels different to me.
Yeah. It is. And let the record show, I've never done anything even close to that. So
I like sharing my life with people and asking questions. I do this on TikTok and Instagram. You guys have seen it before, but it's not like I'm going to make all this money. I just actually genuinely appreciate people commenting and be like, oh my God, I have those student loans too, or I've been looking for a job too. Like, let's commiserate together. And like, but also not necessarily commiserate. I'm also genuinely interested in like, which I think is just part of the human experience. Like, I'm not the only one that's feeling this, right? Question mark.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's easy to monetize pain because there's a lot of it. In the same way that it's easy to monetize any, joy. And I think what you're touching on, Holly, is the difference between social media and, I don't know, broadcasting. It seems like a lot of Instagram and TikTok is primarily used to just promote yourself or serve as your own video distribution channel, right? That people can subscribe to and pay you for. So basically you are a channel that people can watch, and that's a very different use of social media than what you're describing, which is community building and sharing and actually trying to not build an audience, but build a community authentically. So start crying. See, now. I say stuff like this, and then I look shocked when someone's like, "Well, you're kind of a wild card at book club." I'm like, "What do you mean? I feel like I don't even talk at book club."
That is so hilarious.
You lower your copy of Bell Jar, and then
heyo. Do you have a most terrible memory or a terrible memory, Mia?
Do I have a terrible memory
that you'd like to share with the class?
Well, so to return to your initial question of the practicality of this questionnaire in a romantic scenario, I think the way that this question would function would be sort of like what you described. Which
I
is
just love Mia analyzing the questions and saying how they should or could be answered first.
It's a real fun mix
best.
of Mia knowing better, you being truly curious, and me being like the audacity.
my terrible day from childhood.
Something you're analytical, like the function of this question.
Well, no, but I actually think it's actually interesting to think about if you were using this in the way that it's intended, how people would answer. And I think really what they would say is not their deepest, darkest memory, but something that is relatable and embarrassing and did have a degree of quote shame surrounding it to like help you connect with the person you're talking to. But imagine if, someone described a horrible situation that they went through that was harrowing and life-changing, and then you're like, I ripped my pants. Which would be really tempting to do, right? Which would be so tempting to do. Yeah. Imagine the power trip, right?
I would do that genuinely. I would be like, they'd tell me the worst story and I'd just be like, well, one time in elementary school.
But I will say again, not to keep zooming out from the question, but if you're someone who's been, I'm pretty lucky. Like, I haven't had a ton of trauma in my life. I don't have a super dark answer to this question. But if I did, and that was a big part of who I am, it would be a nice invitation to share that in a way that maybe feels like it's warranted and that it can be something that you take off the table quickly and get to know someone. Like I see the other side of this question too. Yeah. But when I was 11, I I had braces and it was prime awkward phase. It was horrible. I got my braces tightened and I had an allergic reaction to the latex gloves. My head and my face swelled up and I couldn't even open my eyes. No. I was in tech week for Annie. And I had to go to rehearsal and everyone was like, what is wrong with your face? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm going through this run through. I think it's like the Sunday, or no, it wouldn't be a Sunday. It was maybe the last rehearsal before tech week. So it was like the rehearsal where you do your run, and I looked horrible and I was in so much pain, and I started my first period.
No.
On this day. And I was like, what's wrong with
Cluster.
Me? And I was in so much pain. I was in excruciating pain in ways that I didn't even have any context for. I had no idea who to talk to. And I looked like a monster. I'm wearing this terrible wig. I'm singing. And then the newspaper.
Are you Annie in this?
Yes, of course I am.
How many times have you been Annie?
Why would you say that? Okay, go ahead.
But
come on, the constant, get it together.
The newspaper, it pulls me from rehearsal and they're like, so we want to talk to you about your experience with the show.
Why is this?
And I was just such a sweet
person.
Listen, I maybe I wouldn't say that I was a very polite, well-spoken 11-year-old, and my pull quotes for this article are like, it's fine. I'm having a good day.
It's whatever.
So
I
much
wish
money.
I could find it. I wish I could find it. But that actually would be my answer to this question, because I was in so much pain. I was so embarrassed. It was just like so many levels of shame, and it just wouldn't, like, none of it was stopping. Like,
right.
It just felt unrelenting. And who do you go to?
For that, like, the teacher didn't come to you or something and just ask like what was maybe going on with your face, since it was like swollen.
Well, I think at that time they had by the time my mom picked me up, she was like, "What is wrong with you?
What the fuck did I come to?"
Oh my God.
And she took care of me. But yeah, that was a rough
memory.
That was a really rough day.
That had to be the greatest version of The Sun Will Come Up Tomorrow that the world has ever known.
Wow.
I used it. I used it, Kris.
Use the
That's
pain.
good.
You're an orphan, Annie.
I mean,
Wow,
orphan
that's
core was such a
awful.
thing at that time. Orphan core, like Little Princess and Oliver
Orphan
and Annie.
Little Princess is one of the best films, in my opinion.
Secret Garden. The 90s
But
were
that
big
is
for
so true.
orphans. 80s into 90s.
Mia! Wow, busting my world open. I
Oh,
didn't
wait,
think about
I
that.
shouldn't be talking about them, right? Whoops.
Oh,
Whatever.
whatever. Oh my God, though. That is a terrible memory, and I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and thank you for sharing.
Just glad it's over.
Oh my
I
God, what
share
a
about my
terrible
face
way to
swelling
end
or my
this.
period. What?
You said
Or-
what?
I said, should I feel like I should share about my face swelling or my period. Like what? That's what I did on the last pod, though. Talking about my fear of dying from tampons.
Oh my God. That could happen. It won't. Well, you guys, it's been a pleasure.
So good.
It is just at the hour-and-a-half mark, and I think it's time. The next one
I'm
is actually
sorry.
about death, so let's just...
Oh,
I
hell
think-
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. if
I'm
we need it.
jazzed. Let's go.
She's jazzed.
Let's talk about
All right,
death.
okay, this will be our last one.
Okay.
If you knew that in 1 year you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are now living and why? Yes, I would absolutely change everything because I talked about this. I think it was literally on Friday when we were talking about other stuff. The Drew Barrymore show. We ran
It's
the
my
gamut
stomach
of what we
making
talked about.
noises,
Okay, I thought it was my dog. Sorry.
No,
Oh,
my
honey.
stomach keeps making these weird noises, but I don't know what it is. I'm fine.
It's okay. This is the last one. It's fine. No, I would drop everything and stop worrying about my student loans and go like fuck around and do the things that I wanted to do and like not and literally live as if it was ending tomorrow because it might. So, and I would love to say that I would do that now. But I can't. Like that's a privilege. I feel in a certain regard. Like if you're not dying tomorrow, so you Anyway, yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would stop paying off my credit card. And
Fuck it.
I'd quit a bunch of stuff, and I definitely would tolerate a lot less.
Would quit a bunch of stuff. That's me too.
Yeah. I'd still coach in things though. I would.
Oh yeah.
This reminds me of I listened to Cheryl Strayed's podcast. It's now defunct. It's old, but there was a replay, and someone was talking about this exact question, being like, if it were, because they were dealing with someone who was terminally ill, who had a set amount of time, and the advice that this person got was, enjoy every second with this person. Live as if every day is their last day. And ultimately, it got very exhausting to live that way. Really tiring emotionally.
Ooh, interesting.
And it ended up becoming quite a burden to carry. I would quit anything I didn't want to do. And I would see as much and do as much and make as much as I could.
Oh, great. And go to Paris.
That's high risk.
Well, you're dying suddenly, so.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. I mean, we talked about this because, we're still recording podcasts for the other show that I talk about. And one of the ones was talking about the end of the world and what would happen if that, who you'd want to spend your time with and all these things. And I talked about how one of the characters says like, but it's not going to end tomorrow. Like, so I feel like a lot of times I go back and forth between like the fantasy of like, let's just quit it all then. Like, let's live as if we're, we are going to die someday kind of thing. But then there's other times when I'm just like, but you're not like tomorrow. You're not in a week that you know of. You could, whatever. So like, you've got stuff you've got to do. You know what I mean? So it's like finding that balance is I think one of life's hardest things or like, most interesting things to do because you can live it in so many different ways.
That's a great answer. Both
I don't know.
smart and succinct.
You're smart.
Thanks, bud.
Well, that is it. Ending on death and terrible memories sounds like the
Thanks
way
for
to
talking
go.
to us about death. It's been a good time.
But we still, let's
I
see. We
had
have
a very
one,
nice
two,
time.
3, 4. We have 4 more questions in this set, and the rest of the set I think is way nicer.
Okay.
Nicer?
So the next time we come on, we will answer those questions.
Mia's going to be so disinterested. She'll be like, no, death or nothing.
Right.
I love light topics. So I am looking forward to the next question.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to follow us on all the social medias and pray for the strike to end so that we can get back to doing our thing, even though we'll do it again still, whatever. But thank you both for being on. Really appreciate you guys. This was so fun. I love podcasting with you guys.
It's been great. Thank you, Holly.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. And it was great to see your little faces in the booth. I love this so much for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really cute.
We live here now.
Yep. Okay, I'll be over in a second.
Yay, please.
All right, guys. Well, have a good day. And signing off, we will see you next time for Strike Pod, or hopefully, maybe, who's to say, for a little bit of Park Bells. We'll see. Okay, bye.
Yay!